I want to share a couple words about why we're here as a brand. So 3 years ago at Nordica, we really wanted to start thinking about how we could think about being a better part of our industry, not just in creating great products, but being more inclusive. And for us, the first step that we saw was forming a women's group to really bring them into the fold in our product, whether it's product development, product graphics. We've got actually a lot of the members of our women's team are here tonight. As a brand, we want to make sure that we're pushing ourselves, our brand, and our industry to be as inclusive as possible and making sure that we're inviting as many people as we can to what I like to call the party, which is the ski industry. So with that, I want to turn it over to Carly Driscoll, who is a mom of two and also our women's lead at Nordica.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming out. Salt Lake City, this has been my home, Salt Lake and Park City, for the last 13 years, so it's really fun to do an event here in what I now call my hometown. Thanks for all the industry people who are here from the WSM show and just the community as a whole. We are so excited for tonight's panel. Mike already did give thanks to Evo, but I do have to say, isn't this space amazing? It has just been an absolute honor and privilege to be able to lead the initiatives at Nordica for the work we're doing to break down barriers for women in skiing. We're really excited tonight to have industry players together talking in public about creating connections that welcome, but not only welcome, they keep women and girls in the sport of skiing that we all love. So with that, I would like to introduce our panelists for this evening. The first panelist I'd like to call up is Felicia Wong. She is coming to us from, Felicia is coming to us as she is the Assistant Chief of Psychiatry at Kaiser Orange County Hospital. She is also Kaiser Southern California Regional Lead Physician for Consult Psychiatry. And she is the blogger behind the handle Everyday Adventure Fan. Felicia joined the Nordica family when we featured her in our It's Family Time campaign that we started a couple of years ago, and has then become a really strong member of our family at Nordica, participating in our women's initiatives and the summits that we have hosted. She has added a tremendous amount of depth to the work that we're doing to break down barriers for women. And this year, her entire family has Icon passes. She's come to Utah now 3 times this season, and keep an eye out because she will be back in March doing a collaboration with Ski Utah. Thank you for being here. Next up, I'd like to call our second panelist, Jordan Birdie. Jordan is joining us from Denver, and did I just lose the audio? She works for Evo headquarters as the assistant ski buyer, not only for women, but men as well. Jordan has also been involved for many years with SheJumps, our partner for this event. And last winter, she summited Mount Baker to raise money for SheJumps. She started her ski journey in her mid-20s and found belonging in skiing, and she is very passionate about diversity and inclusion, and she serves on the leadership team for the LGBTQIA+ Employee Resource Group for Evo. Thank you for being here. Our third panelist this evening I'd like to welcome up is Lauren Samuels. Lauren grew up in Minnesota and was a former U.S. ski team member for the Alpine team. She also was part of the NCAA National Championship team for the University of Utah. Give it up, Salt Lake. She is joining us from Solomon as the Associate Category Manager of Alpine Equipment. For Solomon, that includes skis, boots, bindings, poles, helmets, and goggles. Lauren works hard to speak out on the importance of making the outdoors more inclusive and self-identifying women and people of color. We're super excited to have Lauren here. Thank you for coming. Our final panelist for this evening, last but not least panelist, is Cassie Abel. Cassie is the founder and CEO of Wild Rye Clothing, which she founded in 2016. Most of her career has been spent in the outdoor industry, working for brands like Smith Optics and Grand Targhee Resort. Not only has she founded Wild Rye, she also has found a really cool organization called Women Led Wednesday. Some of you might have participated in that. They have over 650 brands now participating. She is also a Tory Burch Foundation Fellow. She was also nominated for the Forbes Next 1000 honorees. She is a 3-time All-American lacrosse player. But most importantly, she is the mom of a 3-year-old Sawyer. Wild Rye makes beautiful apparel that inspires confidence and welcomes women into the outdoors. This is our panel for this evening. So I am co-moderating this panel with, many in the crowd know, she's very well known in the industry, Claire Smallwood. Claire is the co-founder and executive director of SheJumps. All of the brands on stage partner with SheJumps, and we are really proud to be an official partner with them. We are the sponsor of their Icon Snowpack Scholarship. Claire has worked and dedicated the last 15 years of her life to building a future where people everywhere are living to their potential. The mission of SheJumps offers outdoor play that transforms women and girls, transgender and cisgender, ages 6 and up. Thank you for being here, Claire. Why don't you kick it off from here?
Better turn this thing on. Hi, thank you all so much for giving us your time tonight to be here for this event. Thank you, Carly. Thank you, Nordica, for partnering here. And Evo, especially. SheJumps is actually an Evo grantee. Evo does amazing work through their philanthropy program. And I also want to give a shout out to our SheJumps volunteers at the table selling the raffle tickets. That includes Freddie, who is, I think, one of our longest running volunteers. It's got to be close to 10 years, as well as my co-founder, Vanessa Pierce. She's over there somewhere, Francine and Kathy. So thank you all so much for volunteering here tonight with us. As Carly mentioned, the mission of SheJumps is to get more women and girls outside. That's been my life's work for the last 15 years with a team of over 135 volunteers in 16 states. We just do that in any way, shape, or form that we can, which is really great. And so tonight, especially I think in this kind of conversation around belonging, I just wanted to, of course, acknowledge Nordica, who has made a really tangible investment into the equitable redistribution of wealth, which ultimately supports Black, Indigenous women of color through our Icon Pass scholarship, which is really important for this larger conversation around diversifying the outdoors, diversifying skiing, and really wanting to kind of get to the root of it, which is offering access and removing barriers. We all know why that's important, because we've all had lots of impactful experiences in the outdoors. I personally really have moments that kind of tear away versions of our old selves, if you will. And it always kind of seems to happen in nature. At least it does for me, and I'm sure a lot of folks in here can kind of relate to that experience. And tonight our conversation is going to focus along those same lines around the idea of begin, belong, benefit. And what does that mean to each of us? So the big reason for these 3 words is going to be different for everyone, and that's why we've brought these 4 amazing humans up here today to talk about it. But actually, if you saw one of the posters outside around the word intersectionality, I just wanted to pause for a second and say that's really kind of the framework for this. Intersectionality is a term coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, who's a civil rights advocate and just amazing creator and scholar of this term intersectionality. And her quote is, "Having a monolithic view of feminism is suffocating." And I 100% agree with that, especially as someone who runs a women's focused organization. I can't speak on behalf of all women. So that's why it's really important to have multiple voices at the table so we can learn from that. And so kind of one of the things we're going to be exploring tonight is kind of what does belonging mean, and how do you begin to experience or cultivate belonging? And Nordica in particular thinks a lot about this around the idea of creating real experiences on skis. We can't all have the epic, perfect powder day all the time. It's always going to be a little bit of struggle, and we kind of need to dig into those moments. What are some of those blisters that happen? And even though it might create a scar, there's a story behind that. It's something that you carry with you, and I think that's a really powerful thing that hopefully we can all learn from tonight and spark some thought for all of us. So we're going to be talking a little bit about what's influenced your connection to skiing and what it means for the future of skiing. And of course, we're going to have questions from all of you at the end for the panelists. So please hold on to those. We'd love to hear from you as well. And I think we're going to kick it off here. We'd like to hear from all of our panelists. We'll kick it off with you, Felicia, and want to hear from everyone. But basically, what does belonging mean to you, or how would you define it? And is there any kind of one specific moment for you that sticks out for that? Thank you.
So as the least experienced skier on the panel, I never would have even thought of that question until 2 years ago when Nordica invited us to do the Family Time campaign in 2020. I was a tentative at best blue skier, and my husband was pretty good. Our boys were 5 and 7 at that time, and it was a really fun campaign to do. I was really comfortable doing it because we're representing beginner skiers. But then I was super shocked when Carly extended an invite for me to join their women's initiative meeting, because I remember like seeing the email, and my husband and everyone just kind of laughed, and they're like, Felicia, like, how did you get invited to this? Like, of all people, like, how? And I thought that too, but you know, I'm in my 40s and I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, if it's fun, I'm gonna go for it. So I RSVP'd and I said, I'm gonna show up. And then at that first meeting, I had no idea what anyone was talking about. I was like, I just like the graphics and the ombre, but I had no idea. Like, I didn't know what like 88 was, like 158. I had like no idea, but you know, I attribute my sense of belonging in the ski community to 2 things. One is definitely mentorship. And the Nordica family, especially Carly, has always made me feel so welcomed. Like, especially as I explained, as someone that never would have imagined myself in this space, definitely not sitting here on a ski panel. You know, Carly has been so encouraging, the entire Nordica team. When I was at those meetings in fall of 2020 and then this past fall, it might have been 2021, I'm a little confused, but everyone was just so encouraging. Like, when I had no idea, they explained it to me. They told me that my voice as a consumer and as someone that is new to skiing was really important, and they gave me the space and the time to share, and that was so important in my sense of belonging. The second part was just in my blog, Everyday Adventure Fam. You know, over the last couple years, I've shared our ski trips, our ski tips, and even though I share a lot of the struggles and the fails, there's been so many people who message me and let me know that through these posts, they felt encouraged to try themselves, and I felt like I belong with that community too. So those are my sense of belonging with skiing.
So I like to think of belonging in comparison to fitting in. So when we think of fitting in, we've got this square peg trying to fit into a round hole. I'm definitely a square peg, right? Like, I didn't grow up skiing. I don't have the lingo down. I'm not the steeziest skier on the mountain. But to fit in is to have to mold yourself to fit into that hole. Belonging is when you can come as yourself, exactly who you are. And so who here has heard of Boot Tan Fest? Anybody? Hey! So for those of you, aside from the 3 that know, Boot Tan Fest is this event that took place in Colorado last year. It was an event for 200 women at a backcountry ski resort. And the resort was closed down to men for the day. And what we were doing is we were just all skiing together. And the day was capped off by a naked ski run. Terrifying. I don't want to be naked in front of all my friends and all these strangers. And so going into this event, I have this understanding of what a skier is, who a backcountry skier, what she should look like. She's 5'8", she's got a 6-pack, 125 pounds, she's blonde, gorgeous. And so the whole day I'm just like in a ball of anxiety, getting ready to take my clothes off in front of 200 women. Sure enough, I get up to the top of this ski run, and I rip all my clothes off, and I just kind of stand there. And I finally get up the courage to look around at all the other skiers around me. And we're all kind of doing the same thing. But once you kind of stop worrying about yourself and you just take a peek at what's around you, you realize that, hey, there are people out there that look just like me. And there are people that don't at all look like me. And it was so cool to be in this environment where we've got all these women of different shapes and sizes and colors and abilities all coming together to get outside because we all just wanted to ski together with a bunch of women. And I personally can't think of a better definition of belonging.
Hopefully this isn't super loud. Okay, so my definition of belonging is not as exciting or revealing as Jordan's, but to me, belonging means being able to show up unapologetically myself and authentically myself, and in a space and place where I am celebrated and listened to and embraced as a human no matter how I show up. So one short story, I guess, of when I felt that I truly belonged was actually in this exact space. So thank you, Evo, for putting this event on earlier this fall. I attended the Approach and Nexus film premieres here just as a consumer, not as an industry professional. I just wanted to see these films and support the community. And I showed up, and looking around at the audience and who I was sitting next to, it was like, holy crap, this is different than any ski movie I've ever been to. And seeing that there are other people out there, there are tons of women out there who want to see these ski movies too, and who look like me. There were actually like 3 women sitting around me who looked like me, which is not common for me when I show up to a ski movie. And I actually left the venue here that night, and turned to my boyfriend and was like, wow, like I actually feel like I belong there. And I'll get to this later in the panel, but that is constantly something that reminds me of why I do this, why I'm here, why I'm working in the industry. So that's what belonging means to me, being able to show up authentically myself and celebrated for that. How about you?
Oh, wow, I don't quite know how to follow up on that, but belonging for me has a lot to do with the community that I surround myself with. In everything in life, community is really, really important to me. I have skied all of my life, I think, since I was about 2. So that said, I feel like I've gone in and out of belonging with the sport of skiing, like postpartum, after I had my child. I just didn't feel like I fit in the ski world anymore. And, you know, part of that was my physical strength. Part of it was like my emotional disconnection from wanting to be, you know, in dangerous situations and avalanche terrain. But I'd say the most powerful moment of feeling like I really belonged was when I found a group of ski industry women at Powder Magazine's annual ski test that came together, and we swamped and we vented and we bitched and we moaned, and but we also just shared the love of skiing together, and we wore costumes and we drank margaritas, and we've continued to get together every single year since then. And that group of women is a group of women that I still turn to with my ups and my downs in any parts of my life. And so having that community surrounding me has really strengthened my belonging within skiing. So, yeah.
Wow, those were some fun stories.
I want to join on all the on all the margarita drinking, and that sounds like a good time. I can probably think of a handful of people that would love to tag along to that.
I would tag onto the margarita drinking, but not the naked skiing. I'm definitely a very close-up person. How many people would join in on the naked skiing? Okay, all right.
I better see all of you.
We have a naked
out
crowd
there next year. Yes, we have to talk. Yeah, come find me afterwards if you're going naked skiing later this year.
Wild Rye will
She's
be there,
hosting
but
a
I
naked
will
ski
not.
fest. All right, well, we're going to jump in with a question for Felicia. So Felicia just talked to you a little bit about her experience with us at our It's Family Time campaign. So Felicia, despite being featured in our It's Family Time campaign, where of course we were having a ton of fun, we actually had Michael Rogan from PSIA. He's the coach of the PSIA national team and has worked with Nordica for a really long time, and he was there giving lessons to her family, and you got to go ski with Michael, just you two, that day. That was really fun. But even despite the fun that we showed, of course, when I first met you, you talked to me a lot about how intimidated you felt skiing, whether it be like you got to run going down or just being intimidated and feeling really pretty uncomfortable and scared. Mm-hmm. Can you talk to the audience a little bit about how you overcame that?
Yeah, so I grew up in New England, and growing up, we went on 2 ski trips. I remember because they were so rare and very memorable, because I think I had panic attacks on both of them. And growing up in New England, those experiences, like my main core memories were that I was really cold, that it was just so overwhelming, and every time I would look over the hill, I'd like literally have the first sense of panic. And probably in my life, like skiing is probably one of the only circumstances that causes that feeling for me. So understandably, I avoided it as much as I could for most of my life until I met my husband, who he's a physician as well, and we met in medical training at UMass, and there's a small hill called Wachusett there, which Nordica does some events at. And for one of our dates, he was like, let's go skiing. And I was like, oh my God, okay. So I put on my best layers. I was still really cold that night. I remember it was like icy and it was like sleeting, but I try to be a good sport because my husband is really wonderful, and he does a lot of things that I love, like camping and backpacking, so I try to show some interest. And even then, I didn't have a great time, but I kind of, was a good sport, and I did it. We went on a couple of ski trips with our friends. I would say that in my experience, the biggest barriers were like my self-limiting beliefs, like my anxiety, my fear, just thinking like skiing is so overwhelming, it's so unknown. And having my husband, who's Canadian, who grew up playing hockey and was really comfortable with winter and the slopes, helped me ease in, was really helpful. But what really turned it around for me was when I had kids. When I became a mom, again, kind of continuing on, my family does a lot of outdoor activity in general. We like camp, we hike, and so again, because when we got this campaign invitation, actually, and we have done other collaborations for camping and other stuff, I turned to my husband. He was like, 100%, we're doing it. And I was like, okay, I'll do it for you. Because at that point, I was still like a tentative blue. And so, we showed up there, and it was an incredible experience with Michael Rogan. We were at Mammoth, and I was like, this is actually kind of fun. And then, over the last couple of years, as my kids have grown up, we've just kind of prioritized going on ski trips. My older son is now 9, almost 10. He loves skiing. He loves it so much. He
can't get him off the mountain.
We can't.
We had to pry him off the mountain at that shoot.
Yeah, he really loves it. And I think, being in my 40s, I just realized that you can't live in, I think it's a good thing for all of us, you can't live in fear, you can't let your anxieties prevent you from living life fully and having fun. And so I just put myself out there. Every year, every ski trip, I try to push myself a little bit more. I don't push myself too much. I have limits. I'm not a risk taker, too much of a risk taker. But for example, over the last couple trips, there was powder. I'd never done that before. I literally fell more in one day than I did in 10 years because I'm a control, safety control. But I was really proud of myself for doing that. And in my experience, I've also realized how important it is to share that, because we're talking today about inclusivity, making skiing more welcoming. And whenever I share my story, instead of being like, look, we're so, curated, I guess is the word, right? Everyone on social media, you put your highlights, but I try to balance it out in my stories with the struggles, with the tears, because my little one is also likes it, but he likes to après ski too and eat French fries. So I show that, and I show the whole all the emotions, and I think that has made my audience, it's reached a bigger audience. And as I shared a little bit previously, there's nothing that makes me feel more happy about being part of the ski panel and as an ambassador for Nordica or the ski industry than hearing that, my post, my sharing has encouraged other people to give skiing a try too.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Felicia. And I know, Jordan, your start there, Felicia, with skiing, but Jordan, you have an interesting story about starting out, especially given your current profession here with Evo. I'd love to hear more about how you started out with skiing yourself.
Yeah, so I came to start skiing in my kind of mid-20s, kind of later in life. Didn't grow up doing it at all. I played softball. I lived in a town with more cows than people and no mountains. But I got into skiing after, this is a key word, after I got a job as a lifty at Taos Ski Valley. Now, if you've been to Taos Ski Valley, it is not like a beginner mountain. It is very intense. It's very steep. And so I'm sitting in this interview for the lifty position. They're just like, you can ski. And I was like, yeah, I can ski. And they're just like, can you? And I'm like, I can ski. Talk about confidence, right? I can't remember a time when I've had that much confidence with something, just yeah, I can do this. I'll figure it out. But I didn't tell them that. So they're like, yeah, you're hired. We need bodies. We don't care, really. If you can get down, that's all we want. And I was like, cool. Yeah, I can ski. All right. So shortly thereafter, I scurry over to the shop on the mountain, and I'm just like, kit me out. Give me whatever you need. I need to be ready to ski tomorrow. So sure enough, I buy skis that are like way too short. They're probably like snowblade height on me now. And I buy boots that are way too big. Has anybody else bought equipment that's like the wrong size for them? Yeah. There's really not like a whole lot of people, especially at that time, telling you what to buy. So I make it through the season. I survive. I'm clearly here right now. But after that experience, I'm just like, okay, this gear's not working for me. So I go on this journey for myself, trying to figure out exactly what gear is appropriate for what I want to do on the mountain, stuff that's made for women by women. So I go down these rabbit holes on the internet, and I ultimately find gear that works perfectly for me. And I had so much fun on this journey for myself that I'm just like, hey, I enjoyed this, and I know there are other women out there that are struggling with the same problem. I want to help other women figure out their setups. So I get a job working in outdoor retail, slinging stuff on the floor, and I absolutely love it. Just seeing the light bulb go off, and I'm like, hey, like we've got gear that works for you, and you can have the time of your life on the mountain. So fast forward a couple of years later, I'm still slinging skis, and I get this opportunity to be on a buying team. So now I'm like one step above. I'm getting to pick the product that we offer in the store for all of you awesome folks to buy. And it's really cool because I get to take the feedback that I hear from people like Felicia, from all of you, and I get to say, oh, cool, we don't offer that yet. Let's bring that product into the store. Women are asking about it. Men are asking about it. We've got to start offering this. So for me, I found this like sense of belonging, being able to curate product not only for myself, but to help others find it.
That's awesome. And you can walk upstairs here tonight and look at all that awesome gear that Jordan is buying for Evo and for you to purchase. So what's really cool about this group of panelists is Jordan is the ski buyer for Evo corporate, and Lauren is from a manufacturing side from Solomon, who is making the product for her to buy. So I think that was really inspiring, and for us to be up here on stage, Nordica and Solomon, with our shared partner Evo, has been really cool for us as we've been preparing for this panel. So Lauren, I have a question for you, and it's been so fun to get to know you as we've prepared for this. And so as a former U.S. ski team, collegiate national champion skier, and now being a woman working in the industry, and maybe you can tag off a little bit what Jordan said, but can you talk to us a little bit about how you've overcome some obstacles as a woman in the industry?
Yeah, so first off, I think of belonging and feeling like I truly belong in a space as like a journey, not a destination. I quickly learned that you don't just all of a sudden hop into a space or a job, or you get a title after your name that now justifies myself to be there. So it's still a work in progress, I will say. I may be overcoming small things, but yeah, it's a journey. And along the way, like to be quite frank, our industry is lacking diversity, and so I find myself in spaces constantly where I don't necessarily feel like I belong. And I may feel uncomfortable, and maybe it's that I don't belong there, or it's some imposter syndrome, but either way, it's not super comfortable. So I've just learned to kind of cope with that feeling, and sounds cliche, but like becoming, being comfortable, being uncomfortable. I had a chemistry teacher tell me that in organic chemistry in college, and oh man, that was a scarring conversation, but here I am like so many years later saying that again. Really trying to embrace the feeling and the opportunity that I have in these meetings and spaces and events that I get to be at. But some of the mechanisms I guess I've learned to use, and I've learned throughout my ski racing and just athletic career, is first and foremost, like using some self-talk. Like a lot of times I get in these meetings or like a seat at the table and I'm like, this is weird. Like I want to be here. I know I need to be here. I know the sport needs me, and like consumers out there need me here. And I want to give women and people of color product that performs. And so I remind myself that I need to be here and I want to be here. And unfortunately, sometimes that comes with some pain and discomfort and fear, but I visualize myself in places where I have felt belonging in the sport of skiing, and some of those places or people are like Snowbird. I've grown up skiing there, although I'm from Minnesota. I've skied there every year of my life, and I think about like my favorite run to drop into, and it like gives me a little sense of confidence. And even though I'm not standing at the top of Great Scott at the moment, like I can think about that and be like, that's why I'm here. Like I can do this. Or I think about people and events or places that I've been. I think about the community, the ski racing community that I grew up and I started my ski career in. I think about going to the World Cups and running into people all the time that I know. And even though, again, I'm not surrounded by those people at this moment or in this meeting, it helps me build some confidence to speak up or to have a voice and be able to voice my opinion. So, yeah, and I think about the communities like National Brotherhood of Skiers that I'm so gracious, so lucky to be a part of. And I think about all those people out there who are cheering me on that I don't see or hear from directly, but I know that there's people wanting me to be there, even if they're not in this space. So, yeah, it's a work in progress, I will admit, and I'm on the journey, and I'm willing to put myself in those situations where I might be uncomfortable at the moment. But
Well, thank you for showing up. I think that's what we're talking about. We just got to show up, continue to show up, not only in the industry, working for the industry, but as a consumer, showing up and skiing, because we all love and find joy in skiing. So we just really want that for everyone, because skiing like really can change lives and add a tremendous amount of benefits when you find the sense of belonging that we're all working hard to make this sport more inclusive. So thank you for that.
And, kind of similar to showing up, being the CEO of a business is hard work. And unfortunately, there's no days off, as you probably know, Cassie. And Wild Rye, I don't know if anyone in here familiar with the Wild Rye products? Yes, I love it, seeing that show of hands. Amazing products. And I personally feel like when I put my Wild Rye anything on, I just kind of feel like I can do anything. Feels like a product that was made for me, and I'm just like feel very confident from it, which I really, really love. And so on this tactical level, you're providing a tool, right, to get outside. And then kind of on this deeper sense, there's this benefit that comes to women for it, right? Not only do we have a tool to get outside, but we have this product that was made for us. And I'm just kind of curious if you can tell us a little bit more about what drove you to start this company, because brands give an emotional response. There's a reason why we have those connections to those companies. And I've been really lucky to work with you through SheJumps, but I've never actually asked you that question, so I'd love to hear it. I'm sure everyone else would too.
Yeah. I'd say it was part accident and part very deliberate, but I strongly believe that brands have a great responsibility, not only to be stewards for our planet, but also to uplift the communities that they serve. And Wild Rye, we launched to provide women beautiful and technical outdoor apparel as a vehicle to welcome and be, more inclusive and creating an access point for women to enter the outdoors comfortably and confidently. As you guys heard, I've worked in the outdoor industry for most of my career, both at Smith and Targhee, and I also consulted for probably 20, 30 brands over the course of my career on the PR and marketing side, and just was constantly running into the experience of being the only woman in the room, like not having my feedback heard when I had opinions about product or thought we should be, uplifting our female athletes more. And I just kept running into walls and walls and walls. And even the best of intentioned brands still, still today, like the best of intentioned brands still lead with their male athletes. And so I firmly believe that women deserved a space that's just for us. So not only from a product standpoint, but also from marketing, and we've been very intentional to lead with a voice that's playful and fun and really hopefully resonates with our community. We celebrate the snack breaks and the selfies in addition to the podiums and the summits. I know I get outside nowadays just to get fresh air and exercise and take in the view. And, catch up with my friends, and I have no intention of standing on a podium. I have no intention of setting a world record. I want to, create this community and be a part of a community that wants to bring our kids up in the outdoors. And so Wild Rye has been very heavily focused on that. And we just became B Corp certified, and I'm not sure how many of you guys know what B Corp certification means, but it's a super rigorous certification process where they dig into how you contribute to your internal team, how you contribute to your community, and how you serve the planet. And so we ended up going down that route because I needed to have a guiding principle, a North Star, as we continue to grow, to make sure that, hopefully I'm at the helm for a very long time, but as we bring on investors and bring more people into the fold, that it's crystal clear that we care about our people and our community and the planet. And, I really hope more brands join us in this journey because it's an incredible community of brands that are part of it, but also it's just brands standing up and showing that they're committed to doing better. And so I kind of went around in some circles, but
No, that was awesome. That was a great answer. And I think what I loved hearing from all of the panelists was about this idea of it being a journey. I just think that, for me personally, starting SheJumps with two friends 15 years ago, my why back then was a lot different than it is right now, right? And I think that that's like kind of actually what sparks that continued love of it. And I think that even for skiing, if we want to use it in that context, and even with this idea of like, what do we mean by benefit from skiing? It's always going to change. And I think like I've heard that from every single person, that there was a journey of it, and whether it was like self, projected, like for you, Jordan, being like, yes, I'm going to do this. Like, I want to find it and make it happen, versus an external force or something more internal that's driving. I love that feeling.
Yeah, that was great. So as you might have noticed tonight, we're not talking about product because, again, I can't hone in on it more. This is about skiing and the joy and the act of skiing. And Claire touched on it a minute, and Cassie touched on it, but at Nordica, we truly believe that a brand elicits an emotional response that has nothing to do with the product that we sell or the logo that you see. It's the feeling that you get from doing or being associated with a brand. And I truly think Wild Rye has done a really amazing job doing that. Originally, we wanted to have, an out of the ski industry panelist, and Wild Rye makes amazing cycling gear. And for me, as a cyclist, I have always felt like when I wear Wild Rye, it's like Claire said, you can do anything. I can climb 10,000 feet, which I would never do. So that really is something that a brand has the power. A brand has a power to elicit that emotional response. So that's what we're trying to do here. So we're going to break it up a little bit, because has anyone ever listened to a podcast where they do rapid fire questions at the end? I listen to Brené Brown a lot, and she does this. So I wanted to bring this in tonight because she's one of my role models that I look up to. So we are going to go through 5 really quick questions. I haven't given you guys all the questions because I wanted to have some surprises.
We love
here.
a good curveball.
And so we're just going to go down the line, and it's just boom, 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 1 answer response, 5 questions. You guys ready for this? All right, here we go. Okay, what is your favorite ski resort you've ever been to?
All the Salt Lake City ones.
Very political answer.
So broad. Taos Ski Valley.
Snowbird.
Sun Valley.
Oh my gosh, I have to answer this too. Taos. I grew up in New Mexico.
Taos is mine too, actually, because I really felt like I found my skiing legs there, and I met Claire's brother there way back in the day. So Taos wins tonight. Wow. All right. So next up, we'll start with Claire this time. Favorite après drink?
Tequila. I mean, you can put stuff in it too. That sounds great.
I heard you drank a lot of tequila your first night back up at the P-Dog.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Margarita.
I think this year it's hot toddy.
Snow melt with electrolytes. So it's good for you.
Hot chocolate.
Aperol Spritz. All right, next one. We're going to start with Felicia for this one. What is one word that describes how skiing makes you feel? One word.
Challenged.
Youthful.
Strong.
Free.
Wee!
A little bit of
I literally make that
yeehaw.
sound effect all the time when I'm skiing. I just think it's so fun.
Okay, 2 more to go. We're going to start with Claire on this one. What was the last book you read or listened to?
American Dirt.
I'm currently listening to Prince Harry's book, Spare. Shocking.
I think the last book I actually read was the tech manual for.
Oh my God! Please say.
All right,
anything
anybody have any book
else.
recommendations for Lauren? Let's give it to her after the panel.
No, you
I
should
wish my
finish
boss
what
was
you were
here
going
to
to
hear
say. Tell these people what a tech manual is.
Oh, shop practices manual, tech manual for all the bindings for Solomon, Armada, and Atomic. I manage the project of rewriting that every year, so I have to read all of it. And yeah.
That's some hefty stuff. Thank you.
Can someone give her a book list or something?
Anybody, it doesn't matter. I'm currently reading, and I hope I get the name right, Annapurna, A Woman's Place is on the Top by Arlene Bloom. It's magical if you haven't read it. I hear some snaps in there, but it's a good one.
My reading has really dropped off too since I became a mom, and I read a lot of medical stuff. But I just been reading my 4th graders' reading projects too, and the latest was The Lion Witch in the Wardrobe, which is really magical and fun.
Great. I just read my first fiction book in like 10 years, thanks to my friend Katie, who's out in the audience. It was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Who's read that? That was great. It got me hooked on fiction again. Okay, last question, and this is a hard one, and if you are friends of any of the panelists, there's no judgment here, and you can't hold this against them, but who is your favorite ski buddy of all time?
So right now it's my 7-year-old because he shares like the joy and fun of skiing, but also the après. And so while my husband and my older son are like ripping and going down all these like crazy challenging runs, we take breaks, and he's good company. It's a lot of fun.
Mine is my wife. We just got married last April on our skis.
I think mine is my boyfriend. He's here, so. No, really though. It is. It is.
Mine is my mom and has been for now almost 40 years. But I hope that someday Sawyer will be a pleasant ski buddy. Right now he throws a lot of tantrums and drinks a lot of hot cocoa. But he's getting there. He's getting there. We're going to get there.
That's great. For the first time in 6, maybe 7 years, I got to ski an entire day with Vanessa Pierce, my co-founder, and I have to say that just was amazing. She's an amazing skier, way better skier than I am, so get some tips.
That is awesome. Mine is my family unit, and my husband's in the audience, and we skiing with our 4-pack has been the joy of my
Is Jamie
life.
going to start giving you more fresh tracks? Because you said that Jamie doesn't let you get you first tracks.
He steals a lot of fresh tracks, so you just got called out. So.
We let her get first tracks the other day. She's like, oh gosh, finally.
But I got
Always
ballroom
listen.
drop yesterday, and you didn't. So anyway. Okay, well, so we have some SheJumps volunteers in the room, and there is some last chance for some raffle tickets. And we are raising money tonight for SheJumps that Nordica will be donating to our very lovely partner, SheJumps. So if the volunteers want to run around, and if anyone wants to buy raffle tickets and hasn't already, raise your hand, and they'll be by. We have some great prizes tonight that Claire is going to run the raffle at the end here.
Yes, and I just want to say one of the things we're raising money for is really specifically in this community. EVO, they are a grantee of EVO as well. We work with this amazing local organization in West Valley, Salt Lake. We've been working with them for about 6 years now. It's called Heartland Community for Youth and Families. And they are an organization that works with immigrant and refugee families, and we've been working specifically with a group of girls between the ages of 10 to 17 to bring them on year-round adventures. And specifically, the last 2 Saturdays of March and first 2 Saturdays of April, we are doing SheJumps into the Canyon for its 11th year at Alta, where we're taking these girls up and teaching them how to ski. So we need volunteers for that, and we need money because it costs money to take everyone up there and make sure they have a safe, fun time. So huge shout out to EVO. They are a grantee of EVO as well. So it's really great. That's what the money is going to be helping us to bring alive. Our goal is to raise $10,000 by April 1st. So help us get there. Thank you so much.
Can I just tell one quick story about SheJumps and get into the canyons? Okay, so any local Salt Lake cyclists in here? Raise your hand. Has anyone in here ridden up Little Cottonwood Canyon to Alta from the valley? It's freaking hard, right? Oh, Vanessa, you have, I know. Okay, so this is how much that program that SheJumps run elicit an emotional response to skiing. The person's name was?
Erin Arnold.
Erin Arnold, okay. I was helping out one of the seasons with Vanessa and the girls coaching or teaching the kids how to ski, and there was a bus that brings up the kids from the valley to ski, and one of the kids missed the bus. And he wanted to ski so bad that day. It was a blizzard. And who has driven Little Cottonwood Canyon in a snowstorm? He rode from West Valley City, which is out by the airport, on a like a Huffy bike. In the winter, he rode his bike to Alta because he wanted to ski that day. I mean,
We could not believe it when he showed up. It was amazing.
we were like, where'd you come from? Oh my gosh. I mean,
He got there at like 11:30 or 12, and he only had a couple hours to ski, but it was pretty great. We used to work with the Boys and Girls Club, and we worked with all sorts of different teens. But yeah, Aaron, and he actually was a volunteer for SheJumps after that, and became a lifty at Alta.
Which is really cool. Yes. And the tour of Utah used to come through here, and that is one of the hardest canyons probably in the world to ride. That is just amazing. So I had to share that story.
That's a good one.
Okay, so we have time for some questions from the audience. So I have a wireless mic right here. Hey, Mike, would you mind grabbing this microphone? And if anyone has a question, we'll bring the microphone to you. So anyone have a question for the panelists tonight? Don't be shy. Oh, I see a hand. There's a hand right back there.
Hi. So what are some like women's organizations that you guys have gotten involved in, or like how have you guys connected with other women in the ski community like that you're all in? I know you guys are all from different places, so I'm just curious. I know that Salt Lake has a lot of awesome women's organizations, but you know, I'm always trying to dig deeper, so I'm curious what you guys have done to connect with other women in the ski community.
I'll start. So for me, it's through social media. So I have an Instagram account as well as a blog, and my connection to other women and introducing them to skiing or just connecting with them over skiing has been through Wildkind, which is a big outdoor family community that actually does organize many trips for beginners as well as people who are experienced skiers, as well as Tiny Big Adventure. That's another outdoor platform and community. And what I like about the outdoor social space is that you can be all over the country, but feel very connected and develop good friendships that kind of encourage and inspire each other along the way. There's many more, but those are a couple examples.
I don't have a great answer for organizations. When I moved to San Francisco from Colorado, I picked up my best ski buddy at a bar. But yeah, no, I just like would talk to anyone and anyone who'd listen that I wanted to go ski, and I was looking for friends that could ski, and it's sort of like networking for a job, but a little bit more fun because it usually involves some social time. But that's how I found not just bars, but talking to friends who talk to friends and, you know, connecting with fellow skiers that way, just through network.
I know that in the Salt Lake area, they have some Facebook groups for carpooling up Little and Big Cottonwood Canyons. And so you can kind of just like hit some people up, and I've heard of some people making good friends just trying to carpool up the canyons to work on that issue that we have here. Claire, do you have?
I think Jordan had some. Yeah, you work with quite a few great ones out in Colorado as well, but I definitely have a couple data.
Yeah. So obviously there are a lot of really great organizations out there that are catered to women and getting these events started. So I live just outside of Denver, Colorado, and as a queer person that recreates in the outdoors, there's not often a space for us. There's space for women, but not queer people. And so if the space doesn't exist, sometimes you just have to create it, right? Which is really scary. I seem very extroverted. I am very much an introvert. I'm gonna like, my social battery is gonna drain after this. I'm gonna be like sleeping on a chair somewhere. But if you don't see these spaces, don't be afraid to create them yourself. And it doesn't have to be this big, extravagant group, right? You don't have to be SheJumps. Like, Claire's worked at that her whole life. It can be as simple as being a Facebook group that has 37 people in it, and you put a meetup on the calendar once a month. It doesn't have to be this whole big spectacle. It's just finding people who are like-minded, who like to do the things you do outside, and sometimes you just have to create that space.
Yeah, I was going to add on to that. There's actually, over the last 15 years, like, SheJumps has, I think, become a little bit more like programmatic oriented. So like, for example, we do a Wilderness First Aid scholarship for women of color. We do a lot of avalanche education scholarships. So we're offering a lot of like deep programming, as opposed to like, you know, our volunteers are also offering like community meetup events. But I know, for example, like here in Salt Lake, I've been so impressed and excited at the Woomtang group. If y'all have ever heard of them, I think they're great. I've been in touch with their organizer, and like, I just think it's great that women do create those spaces. And I think that like, that's a total falsehood to think like there's only room for one and it has to be like done this way. And I've always said to anybody that asks, like, as long as someone's doing the work of getting women and girls outside, like, I'm on board with that. And I think that it's more about like a rising tide that lifts all ships and just getting out there. So I have to say though, in my 15 years, I think Facebook groups have definitely been this like new tide, and also Instagram. And it's great. Like, there's these like groups that aren't brands, they're not nonprofits, and they're just trying to get a message out there. And I think like Elevated Alpine is one. Like, they've been doing great work in Colorado, and yeah, they're all over the place. There's lots of different ones, and I haven't lived in Utah now for 4 years, so I'm a little bit out of touch, but yeah, that's awesome.
Sometimes finding people to ski with for me is just like posting on my Instagram and be like, does anybody want to ski today? Like, it's snowing and I don't have any friends to go with or plans. Please come ski with me. So yeah.
I see another question right back there.
Hi, ladies. Thank you for doing this. Hi, Claire. Question. So if you were to join in on a women's ski retreat, other than skiing or snowboarding, what is one of the things that you would hope would be a part of the retreat?
Snacks. Yeah, snacks, warm, cozy feelings of some sort. Yeah, and fun. Like, just, you know, friendly, enthusiastic attitudes, ready to share stories and yeah, enjoy the work of skiing, but then also the relaxing and unwinding that comes afterwards.
I think having everybody teach everybody else something, I think that's cool. So often you like get in a space and you're like, I'm not a master at anything, but the truth is, like, you probably are. If you're really good at making PB&Js, go for it. Teach us how to make the best peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or tuning your skis or something. There's just always something to learn from everyone else around you. So kind of creating that space. I don't want it to be an assignment, but that could be fun.
I love that. That's really cool.
Does that answer that question?
I'm going to add to that.
Oh, yeah, please.
Have difficult conversations, right? It's so hard to be a woman in the outdoors. Break down those barriers. Be totally transparent with one another. Just say what sucks. Say what rocks. Like, we're not going to get anywhere if we don't start having these candid conversations. So put your heads together and say, this is broken. How do we fix it? And the only way we're going to fix it is if we really do all work together. Very serious answer.
Usually you don't even have to like plan that event.
No, it's so organic.
Last night we all met for the first time. I was like, I'm going to be there for 45 minutes and go home and sleep because I'd been working all day. And then we were here till 11 o'clock talking
4
about
hours later.
serious things and like tough conversations. So it's pretty easy to foster those, I think.
Definitely. Any more questions? Yep, I see a hand.
Hi. I love the snacks. That makes me laugh. Okay, my question's for Lauren. Being a person of color, you kind of touched on being in the space, and I just am curious to ask about your experience in the ski industry, and really a little bit more mindfully, like, if you see people of color feeling included in the sport, or what, like, just kind of what the state is, if you're able to talk about that. I don't know if you know, but I'm just curious, touching on that.
I can try.
Okay.
First things first, though, this is just my perspective. It's just one of many. Hopefully, there'll be more and more perspectives that we can bring to the panel next time. But current state, we are moving forward slowly, but it's a tough conversation to have. It's a tough topic to talk about. A lot of people feel uncomfortable. Honestly, race it doesn't come up often. And whether frankly, it's because it's uncomfortable to talk about. But I think as hard as it is and as slow as the change appears to be happening, like we have to do something. Like, it's not acceptable to do nothing, is how I feel. So yeah, we're moving forward, and I think, in my opinion, people of color maybe are starting to feel more comfortable, but it's not a drastic, all of a sudden, skiing got woke. So, yeah, we still have a long ways to go, but there are places and resorts and companies and brands and people trying to do everything they can, and little steps here and there what make a difference. And just this kind of holiday season here in Utah, I was skiing with my family here. My parents came out, and like all of us just realized that it seems like there are more people of color of all races that are like showing up to the mountain, which is great. And I love to like kind of report back and be like, wow, like I'm seeing more faces that are different. So I don't think it's not possible to say like here's the one thing that changed that, but it's what like we all do, and how we change our behavior, how we change what we talk about, and what we're open to learning and bringing into the ski community, I think, is how we're gonna continue to move forward and allow more people to feel included and embraced in different cultures. Because yeah, and it even comes down to like what food we offer at resorts, and what music is playing, and what bands do we have, or musicians coming into these resorts that actually bring other people besides the classic white people who ski into our sport. So yeah, maybe Felicia has something to say.
Yeah, I'm just going to add a little bit too, because representation matters a lot, and I think that when people see people they identify with, whether it's race or anything, they feel more welcomed, or more like they feel like something's more inviting. Like, skiing has to work on that, but so does most of the outdoors. Like with backpacking, it's not something that maybe because of like immigration or different reasons, like there aren't a lot of minorities that grew up doing it, right? And so when my family tried to do our first backpacking trip, it wasn't like, oh, this is difficult because we're a person of color, but the reality is that everyone with experience was white. But what helped me like get into it was that everyone, like the people that I was friends with, were so helpful. Kind of like the skiing community. Everyone's so helpful, and they made me feel like welcome, and they share that information with me, and then I share that, and I model that, and I say like, my family is comfortable doing all these things that we didn't grow up doing, or that we don't see that many other people doing that look like us, but hopefully by being out there, representing, other people also get the idea that they can do it too. And as I shared, like the best feeling that I get, why I blog, is for that feedback, is for those messages that say, I never would have thought of doing that, but seeing your family makes me think that my family can do it too. And so I think it's our responsibility to keep on working on that, to keep on having more diversity in these panels and in whatever, really visible, so that more people feel like they're invited and that it's an option.
Yeah, and just like breaking down the bias that we all have, and the stereotypes, like checking those at the door when you walk in. And so when, you know, a black person walks in, you're not just assuming they're a first-time skier, or we're not just assuming that, I don't know, they do a certain sport or that they love certain things just because of the way they look. So that's something that I encounter very often, and my family does as well. And like, my dad worked in the ski industry before I was born too, and he's black, and so no one ever assumes that of him when he walks into a ski shop. But yeah, so it's like the little things. Representation matters, and trying to check yourself before you jump to those assumptions just by how people look.
And also, I think inviting other people, because I have a friend, one of my closest friends, she's Guatemalan, and I camp a lot. Like, our family camps a lot. And she was like, oh, I would never camp. Like, Latinos don't camp. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like,
Black
you can
people
camp.
don't like the cold.
Let's just do this. And then she came with me, and she was like, this is fun. So I think that, you know, kind of, it's also, if you are a person of color that's very comfortable in the outdoors, it's like, it's also, I feel like it's a little bit of our responsibility, if we have that privilege, to break down those barriers and help educate and help make it really inviting and fun. Oh, sorry.
That was great. I think that to summarize what you guys said, representation matters. And a quote that I really love is, details are in the details. So what you said about the music and the food that's offered and the graphics that are on the products, or the prints that you choose for the, you know, the clothing, really does matter. At Nordica, with our women's initiatives, we're taking a more kind of scholarly approach by using a framework that one of the guiding principles of the work that we do is creating opportunities for connection. And the reason why that's so important for the work that we're doing is because if we create opportunities for connection, it opens up the door to invite people in. And so we have these 6 things that we have to run everything through that we're going to do when it comes to trying to break down barriers for women in skiing, and that's kind of one of the main ones. So
I have one last thing to add.
Yes, please.
With representation matters, like, we have to compensate people fairly for that. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've been asked to be in photo shoots now, especially in the last 2 years, and I'm like, cool, when, where, and what's the deal? What am I getting paid? What do you have to offer? And they're like, oh, well, we just wanted some black people to come ski. I'm like, well, I live in Utah. Like, how are you going to get me there? And I need to be compensated for that. And this is not just about me. Or if I'm unavailable, they're like asking me, you know, who else can we call? And I think part of it is my responsibility to try to find more people who they could talk to. But my first question is like, okay, then what are you going to pay them? Because I won't give you their name unless you're ready to compensate them for that time. So
I was just going to say, along those same lines, you can donate to a lot of amazing nonprofits that are led by people of color that are directly impacting. SheJumps serves all women, and we do have specific programs for women of color, but like National Brotherhood of Skiers, Outdoor Afro, there's a really amazing organization out of Pacific Northwest called Edge Outdoors that specifically is doing a ton of training for women of color to become ski instructors and all these things. There's Women of Winter. Money talks. If you personally aren't a photographer that can pay someone to go or do any of that thing, donate to all these wonderful organizations. Money really helps those organizations do more, to invite, to teach, to start from an early age, and to make sure everyone feels like they've got those opportunities.
And my friend in the audience, Hannah Whitney, taught me a long time ago that it doesn't have to be a ton of money. It can be just $10, because the more people contributing small amounts to these nonprofits really does build the community and make the change. And she taught me that a long time ago, now raising money for Utah Avalanche Center. Okay, do we have any more questions? Yeah, I see one right here. Oh, yep, Mike's coming up.
Okay, so this one's for Lauren and Cassie. With being professional athletes, or where you guys have been in the past, so what keeps you in the sport that you currently do? So I know that ski racing is a hard sport. You go through all the training, things like that, and the World Cup especially, you're always traveling, you're gone. It's exhausting. So what keeps you skiing, and maybe do you continue to play lacrosse?
Do you want to go?
Sure. Well, The sad part is I don't really play lacrosse anymore because I can't find people to play with me in Idaho. And my stick has been collecting dust for about 15 years now, but I will definitely pick my stick up again when it comes to the day that my child is ready to play. And for me, it brings me so much joy, and I miss it every day. With skiing and biking, for me, those are social activities, and those are the ways that I see my friends, and my friends are super important to me. Like I said earlier, my community. So it's my community that keeps me inspired to continue participating, along with fresh air and exercise, and a little adrenaline rush every once in a while. But yeah, it's my community for sure.
I think part of it is skiing was kind of taken away from me for a little while. I dealt with a bunch of pretty bad injuries and was told I'd never ski again and never run again. And when it's taken away from you, you realize how valuable it is, or I realized how valuable it is to me and my mental health and overall health. And so, yeah, and just the fun and the joy and the community and scaring myself. Actually, there's nothing quite the same as standing at the top of something and you're I know I can ski this, but I'm terrified and I'm going to do it, and you do it, and it's I don't know, nothing else feels like that to me. Maybe mountain biking a little bit, I'm starting to get there, but skiing, I don't know, it's scary but fun and empowering, and I feel strong and I feel confident doing it, even when I'm scared. So yeah, having it taken away and then realizing, having that time to reflect on what it does bring to my life is yeah, I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life if I can. So
I have one more thing to add. For me, sport really turned me into who I am. I mean, I was a painfully shy human being in 7th grade, did not speak. I was the girl that was in at the lunch table just sitting like this, just kind of watching everyone. But then I'd show up on the lacrosse field, or I played basketball in the gym with the boys all the time, and that's where I came to life. And I think forever that has given me life. And I just think sport is such a powerful thing that. But I also think it's really important to cut yourself some slack. If you're not feeling it at the moment, let that feeling guide you maybe to a new sport or to a new challenge, so that you continue to get to enjoy sport in some capacity, whether it's, the same sport your whole life or many different sports depending on your mood.
All right, well, we're running out of time tonight, but we are going to be hanging out afterwards. There is a bar upstairs, and feel free to come up and ask the panelists any questions you might have. I just want to kind of close it down with coming back to the framework of tonight's conversation, which is to begin, belong, and benefit in skiing. You find tremendous amount of benefits when you find your belonging, but you're not going to get the benefits if you don't find the belonging. And so we spent most of our time tonight on trying to find belonging, but you're never going to find belonging if you don't begin. So I think to summarize what the panelists have said is we need to show up, continue to show up, put yourself into uncomfortable situations. If you're a brand new skier, maybe push yourself onto the next level, the next black diamond or a double black diamond or Summit Mount Baker, whatever it is, just push yourselves and show up. And to summarize as well is just representation matters. So speak up and show up, and let's make skiing a more inclusive and equitable place that we all can find belonging in. I really thank you for being so attentive tonight. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much to all our panelists, to our hosts. Let's do a raffle. Does that sound good?
Yeah, let's do a raffle. I have one more thing. There's 2 girls in the audience that work with me at Nordica on the women's work that we're doing. They're standing right here. Allie Saylor, she works at Nordica headquarters in New Hampshire. And Blake Licata works with me at Wasatch Beck Media, my marketing firm, and runs the social media channel for us and has brought a ton of wisdom to our work. Thank you, ladies, so much. You put a lot of work into this panel. And last, I just want to thank the panelists one last time. I want to thank Wild Rye. They have donated to this raffle that Claire's going to kick off here. Thank you, Solomon, for showing up with us. We are in this together as one industry to create more inclusivity. Thank you, SheJumps, of course. Thank you all for donating to SheJumps. Evo, thank you again for this amazing space. All right, I think that concludes the evening. Thank you so much. Again, the bar's upstairs. We're around. Whoop, whoop.